Imagine waking up before the sun. No alarm, no phone, no notifications, just silence and iron will. This man woke up every single morning with one purpose: to become unbeatable. His name was Miyamoto Musashi. He never lost a single duel, not one. In over 60 life-or-death sword fights, he walked away every time. But here's what most people don't talk about. It wasn't his sword that made him invincible. It was his mornings. Today, we're gonna walk through the exact morning routine of history's greatest swordsman, and more importantly, what you can steal from it to win your own battles.
Before we talk about his mornings, you need to understand who this man was, because context is everything. Musashi Miyamoto was born around 1584 in the Harima province of Japan during one of the most violent eras in human history, the Sengoku period, a time of constant civil war where entire clans were wiped out overnight. His childhood name was Shinmen Takuzo. He fought his first duel at the age of 13 and killed a grown man. Let that sink in. 13 years old, first fight, first kill. By the time he was 30, he had survived more than 60 duels to the death and never lost. But Musashi wasn't just a killer. He was a philosopher, an artist, a strategist. He mastered calligraphy, painting, sculpture, and military strategy, all while wandering Japan alone with no master, no lord, no home. He was a ronin, a samurai without a master. In Japanese culture, this was considered shameful. A ronin had failed. A ronin had no purpose. But Musashi turned that shame into fuel. He became the Kensei, the sword saint, the greatest warrior Japan ever produced. And in the final days of his life, he wrote down everything he had learned about how to live. 2 works, the Book of 5 Rings, his strategy Bible, and the Dokkōdō, his 21 precepts for life, written just 1 week before he died. These writings are the foundation of the morning routine we're about to explore. Now, let's talk about how this man started his day.
Here's something most morning routine videos get wrong. They start at the alarm clock. But Musashi understood that the morning begins the night before. In the Book of 5 Rings, Musashi writes about the concept of Ichigo Ichie. Each moment happens once and never again. You must give it everything. That means your evening sets the stage for your dawn. Musashi's evenings were deliberately simple. No excess, no indulgence, no distraction. He would reflect on the day, what he did well, what he failed at, what he could sharpen. Set a single clear intention for the next morning. One thing he would focus on. Lay out his tools, whether his sword, his brush, his scrolls. Preparation was ritual. Sleep without clutter in his mind. He believed a warrior who goes to bed with chaos in his thoughts wakes up with chaos in his hands. This is the first lesson from Musashi. The quality of your morning is decided the night before. What did you prepare? What intention did you set? Did you go to sleep with purpose, or did you scroll through your phone until your eyes gave out? Musashi had no phone, but he had something more dangerous: awareness. Musashi woke before sunrise. Not because some productivity guru told him 5 a.m. was magical, but because in feudal Japan, dawn was when battles began, when enemies attacked.
when survival demanded alertness. He trained himself to be awake and ready before the world around him stirred. In Japanese tradition, the time before dawn is called Uchi Mitsudoki, the hour of the ox, roughly 2 to 4 a.m. It was considered a sacred liminal time. The veil between the physical and spiritual world was thinnest. Musashi used this hour not for productivity, but for presence. The first thing he did upon waking was not reach for water, not eat, not speak. He sat in complete silence. Not the silence of a man trying to meditate because an app told him to, but the silence of a man who understood that the world would soon demand everything from him, and he had to fill himself up first. Musashi, quote, "Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world." This comes directly from the Dokkōdō, precept number 4. What does that mean for a morning routine? It means don't start the day thinking about yourself. Don't wake up and immediately spiral into your worries, your to-do list, your anxieties, your plans for your own glory. Wake up and look outwards. What does the day demand of you? What does the world around you need? What is the situation truly, right now? A warrior who woke up thinking only of himself was already half defeated. So practically, what did this look like? Musashi would sit on the floor, cross-legged, back straight, eyes half open, and he would simply observe. The sound of the wind, the temperature of the air, the quality of the light beginning to change.
He was calibrating himself to reality, not to his thoughts about reality. Modern neuroscience actually supports this. The moments after waking are when your brain is in a hypnagogic state, highly suggestible, creative, and open. What you feed your mind in those first minutes sets the neurological tone for the entire day. Musashi fed his mind with stillness. You, in the year 2025, immediately feed yours with Instagram. I'm not judging you, but Musashi would be disgusted. After his silent sitting, Musashi would perform a simple but powerful act. He would bow to the 4 directions: east, west, north, south. This wasn't superstition. It was a deliberate act of acknowledgement that the world was vast, that he was small within it, and that his actions today would ripple outward beyond himself. It was his way of saying, I am part of something larger than myself. I will act accordingly.
After his silent sitting, Musashi moved, and he moved with intention. Let's be clear about something. Musashi's physical training was not about aesthetics. He wasn't training to look good. He wasn't training for a competition. He was training to stay alive. And yet, his approach to physical training is more sophisticated than modern fitness philosophies. In The Book of 5 Rings, Musashi writes, "You must train every day. Today's victory is not enough. Tomorrow you must win again." His morning training had 3 distinct phases. Phase 1, Suburi, repetitive sword drills. Suburi means dry swinging, practicing sword cuts without an opponent. Musashi would swing his bokken, wooden practice sword, hundreds of times. Not fast, not explosive, slow, deliberate, perfect. He understood something that modern athletes are only now rediscovering. Slow practice builds perfect patterns. When you practice slow and correct, your nervous system encodes the movement properly. Speed comes naturally after that. Precision first, power second.
How many swings? Historical accounts suggest 500 to 1,000 repetitions before sunrise. Most of us can't do 20 push-ups before checking our phone. But here's the real point. It wasn't about the number. It was about the quality of attention. Musashi was not thinking about last night's argument or tomorrow's meeting when he swung his sword. He was completely present in every single cut. That total absorption is what he called mushin, no mind. The state where the mind is fully present and free from distraction, where technique becomes instinct, where the body moves without the ego getting in the way.
Phase 2. Body conditioning. After sword work, Musashi would condition his body. Historical records in his writings suggest he practiced walking long distances. Musashi wandered Japan on foot for decades. He believed walking was the foundation of physical and mental health. Cold water immersion, bathing in cold rivers or streams, not for comfort, for hardening. Breath work, deep, controlled breathing practiced as meditation in motion. In Precept 3 of the Dokkōdō, Musashi writes, quote, "Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling." This applies directly to training. A partial feeling is an incomplete commitment, dipping your toe in the cold water, doing half the drills, going through the motions. Musashi had zero tolerance for half measures, especially in the morning. Either you train or you don't. Either you commit or you retreat. There is no middle path in the dojo. Phase 3. Technique study. After physical drilling, Musashi would spend time studying his own technique. He would slow down even more, moving in extreme slow motion, and analyze every aspect of a movement. Where was his weight? Where were his hands? What angle created the most power with the least effort? He called this hyoshi, understanding rhythm and timing. He wasn't just training his body, he was training his perception. Modern sports science calls this proprioception, the awareness of your body in space. Elite athletes in every sport train this obsessively. Musashi was doing it 400 years ago with a sword and sheer willpower. After his body was activated, Musashi turned to his mind. And this is where things get truly interesting, because Musashi's morning practice was unlike anything we typically associate with a warrior. He wrote, he painted, he read, he thought. In The Book of Five Rings, Musashi describes the concept of Ken-zen ichi-no. The sword and zen are one, meaning martial skill and philosophical wisdom are not separate. They are the same discipline, expressed differently. So after his physical training, Musashi would engage in what we might call strategic contemplation. 3 specific practices. Practice 1. Writing. Musashi kept written records of his observations, insights, and questions. Not a diary in the modern sense, not "Dear Journal, today I felt sad," but a rigorous analytical record. What did I notice in my training today? What is the enemy's likely strategy? Where am I still weak? What assumption am I making that might be wrong? This is almost identical to what Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius practiced. The Stoics called it melate, meditative practice through writing. Musashi called it simply knowing yourself. Precept 1 of the Dokkōdō. Musashi, quote, "Accept everything just the way it is." This is the foundation of self-knowledge. Before you can improve, you must see clearly.
And most of us never see clearly because we're always filtering reality through what we wish it were. Musashi wrote to cut through his own illusions. Practice 2. Studying the enemy. Musashi spent every morning thinking about his opponents, not with fear or obsession, but with cold analytical clarity. He would ask, how does my opponent think? What are their strengths? What do they think their strengths are? What do they underestimate in me? This practice is described in the Book of Five Rings in the chapter on the way of strategy. Musashi, quote, "If you know the way broadly, you will see it in all things. A warrior who only understands fighting will be defeated by a strategist who understands everything." Musashi studied his opponents the way a chess grandmaster studies the board, not move by move, but pattern by pattern. Practice 3. The Dokkōdō meditation. In his final years, Musashi would recite his 21 precepts out loud each morning, not as prayer, not as ritual, but as recalibration. Each precept was a filter he ran his mind through before the day began. Let me read several of them, slowly, and consider what they demand of you each morning. Accept everything just the way it is. What am I resisting about today that I need to accept? Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Am I chasing comfort or am I chasing growth? Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. What commitment am I half making that I need to either fully make or abandon? Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Am I too focused on my own problems to see what's actually happening around me? Be detached from desire your whole life long. What am I attached to that is clouding my judgment? Do not regret what you have done. Am I carrying yesterday's mistakes into today's battles? Never be jealous. Am I comparing myself to others instead of measuring myself against my own standard? Never let yourself be saddened by a separation. Am I holding on to people, situations, or identities that I've already outgrown? Running these precepts through your mind each morning is not just philosophical exercise, it is psychological armor. By confronting these questions before the world confronts you with them, you arrive at your day already prepared.
Here is perhaps the most countercultural aspect of Musashi's morning routine. He did all of this alone. No training partner, no motivational podcast playing in his ears, just Musashi and the work. The Dokkōdō literally translates to the way of walking alone, and this wasn't just a poetic title, it was the defining principle of his entire life. Musashi never married, never swore loyalty to a lord after his youth, never allowed himself to be permanently dependent on another person. Why? Because he understood something brutal about human nature. The moment you depend on external motivation, you have already lost. If you need your friend to text you to get up and train, you're not a warrior, you're a follower. If you need a podcast to make your morning feel meaningful, you're borrowing someone else's meaning. You haven't found your own. Musashi built his morning routine around the radical idea that you alone are responsible for your own readiness. No one is coming to sharpen your sword for you. No one is coming to clear your mind for you. No one is coming to win your battles for you. You walk alone, and in that aloneness, you become unbreakable. Now, I want to be clear. Musashi wasn't advocating for loneliness or isolation. He had students.
He had admirers. He had deep, meaningful connections. But his foundation, his morning, belonged entirely to himself. He gave the world his best because he first gave his mornings to his own becoming. There is something in this that speaks directly to our age of constant connection and constant noise. We are surrounded by people, and yet many of us feel empty, purposeless, unmotivated. Musashi might say, "You are surrounded by people, but when do you spend time with yourself? When do you sit in silence and ask, who am I becoming? Is this the direction I actually want to go? Am I sharp, or have I gone dull?"
After training, contemplation, and solitude, Musashi ate. And this is another radical act by modern standards. He ate simply: rice, vegetables, occasionally fish, water. No feast, no reward meal, no protein shake with 17 supplements. Precept 2 of the Dokkōdō. Musashi, quote, "Do not seek pleasure for its own sake." Musashi did not view food as entertainment. He viewed it as fuel. He ate what his body needed to function at its highest level and nothing more. This wasn't deprivation, it was clarity. When your relationship with food is clean and simple, you carry no heaviness into your day. Your body is light. Your mind is clear. You're not spending mental energy planning your next meal. You're free. Now, I'm not telling you to eat only rice and water. Your situation is different from a 17th century wandering samurai's, but the principle translates. What are you consuming? Food, media, conversations that is making you heavier rather than lighter? Musashi's morning ended the same way it began, with intention. He ate intentionally. He chose fuel over pleasure, and then he was ready.
By the time the sun had fully risen, Musashi's morning was complete. He had moved, he had thought, he had sat in silence, he had contemplated his own weakness and prepared for the world's demands. And now he was ready. Not ready because he felt good, not ready because the stars aligned, not ready because someone else told him he was ready. Ready because he had done the work. This is the most important lesson of Musashi's morning routine, and the one most people miss entirely. The routine didn't make Musashi feel powerful. The routine made Musashi be powerful. There's a critical difference. Most morning routines in the modern world are designed to make you feel motivated, journaling to feel clear, affirmations to feel confident, cold showers to feel alive. Musashi's morning was not about feelings. It was about formation. Every single morning he was forming the person he needed to be, sharpening the blade again and again and again. He wrote in the Dokkōdō, "Do not regret what you have done." This precept is about more than past mistakes. It's a commitment to act decisively, to move through your morning without second-guessing yourself, to train hard and not apologize for it, to sit in silence and not feel guilty that you're not being productive. Every element of Musashi's morning was an act of decision made in advance, so that when the day came with its chaos and demands and distractions, he was already set. He didn't have to decide to be disciplined. He was disciplined because he had forged that discipline before the world woke up.
So, how do you apply the Musashi morning routine to your life in the modern world? You don't need a sword. You don't need to wake up at 3 a.m. You don't need to be a warrior, but you do need to commit. Here is a simplified framework, a modern translation of Musashi's morning. Step 1. The night before,
Set your intention. Before sleep, write down one clear focus for tomorrow. Not a to-do list, one thing, the most important thing. Step 2. Wake before your world wakes. Even 30 minutes before everyone else in your house. The point is to have your time before the world claims it. Step 3. 5 minutes of silence first. No phone, no music, no news. Just sit, observe. Let your mind arrive where your body already is. Step 4. Move your body with intention. Lift, run, practice your craft physically. Whatever your version of sword drills is, do it. Slow and deliberate beats fast and slobby. Step 5. Contemplate your weakness. Ask, where am I still soft? What am I avoiding? What assumption am I making that might be wrong? Write the answer down. Step 6. Eat simply. Fuel, not reward, not entertainment. Give your body what it needs and move on. Step 7. Enter the day prepared, not motivated. You don't need to feel ready. You've done the work. Walk into your day like Musashi walked into a duel, already certain of what he had prepared and unafraid of what he had not.
Musashi won every battle not because he was the strongest, not because he was the fastest, not even because he was the most skilled. He won because when every other warrior was still sleeping, Musashi was already becoming. His mornings were not a luxury. They were not a trend. They were not a brand. They were the invisible foundation beneath 60 victories, and they can be the invisible foundation beneath yours. Today is victory over yourself of yesterday. Miyamoto Musashi, The Book of 5 Rings.